Good morning, my Bible study people. So this is part 10 of the Flavius, Josephus, and Revelation similarities. Sorry, I took a break there for a couple days or so because I've been remodeling my RV. So this next topic will be Revelation 16:21, and this is what it says. And great hail from heaven fell upon men, every hailstone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, since the plague was exceedingly great. So now we're in War of the Jews by Josephus, book 5, chapter 6, paragraph 3. So this is what Josephus says. The engines that all the legions had ready prepared for them were admirably contrived, but still more extraordinary ones belonged to the 10th legion. Now the stones that were cast were of the weight of a talent, and were carried 2 furlongs and further. The blow they gave was no way to be sustained, not only by those that stood first in the way, but by those that were beyond them for a great space. As for the Jews, they at first watched the coming of the stone, for it was white color, and could therefore not only be perceived by the great noise it made, but could be seen also before it came by its brightness. Accordingly, the watchmen that set up on the towers gave them notice when the engine was let go, and the stone came from it, and cried out aloud in their own country language, "The stone cometh!" So those that were in its way stood off, and threw themselves down upon the ground, by which means, and by thus guarding themselves, the stone fell down, and did them no harm. But the Romans contrived how to prevent that by blackening the stone, who then could aim at them with success, when the stone was not discerned beforehand, as it had been till then. And so they destroyed many of them in one blow. So now I want you to pay attention at what was said there. So it was talking about outside of the wall was these white stones that would come down from the sky. So if you were inside of Jerusalem in 70 AD, and you was to look up and you would see white stones coming down out of the sky, you would think they were 100-pound hailstones. I'm going to show you a picture. So here's a picture of the Jerusalem wall that used to be outside the city. And the Roman soldiers would have their catapults outside that wall, shooting over the wall white 100-pound hailstones or stones. So here's the huge 100-pound white stones from the Roman soldiers' catapult machines. So here's an ancient Roman trebuchet. This is them putting the stones in it and throwing it over the wall of Jerusalem. Here's the catapult or the trebuchet. So Josephus mentioned that the stones were painted white in his writings. And so when they did that, the guardsmen that were in Jerusalem was able to see the stones coming over the wall, and they could scream, "The stone cometh!" and people could get out of the way. And so the Roman soldiers realized, if we paint them black and we throw them at nighttime, they can't see these stones. Thus, we will make more destruction. So if you also notice that Josephus mentions that they were the weight of a talent, and that's also what John wrote in his Revelation, that it was the weight of a talent. A talent was 100 pounds back then. So just think, if you were to write a story and make it sound like it's a prophecy, that you would state that in the vision John had, he saw hailstones coming from the sky. And then, so it would be similar to Josephus and his trebuchet stones or catapult stones that were coming from the sky. And so I guess archaeologists ended up digging up these stones and finding them. So the next article would be Revelation 9, 9, 10, and 11. So this is what it says. They also had thoraxes like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the roar of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. This is talking about the huge locusts that come out in Revelation. They had tails with stingers like scorpions, which had the power to injure people for 5 months. They were ruled by a king, the angel of the abyss. His name is Hebrew in Abaddon, and in Greek it is Apollyon. So I thought this part was very interesting, you guys. So these huge locusts that come out of the abyss, what did it say they had on? Breastplates of iron, and their wings sounded like horses in chariots rushing into battle. So does this look like breastplates and sounds of horses and chariots? Let's look at the chariots. So here's the chariots that they would use. So they had wings that sounded like horses and chariots rushing into battle. So here's a picture of the 70 AD destruction in Jerusalem when the Roman soldiers came over the wall. But let's go back to the other part of the scripture that says they had tails with stingers like scorpions and had the power to injure people for 5 months. This is something that was very interesting to me, this part. So what's interesting is when Titus entered and started to siege the temple, it was less than 6 months that he had done this. But look at the machine that they used. So it's called the Roman Scorpio. And it's a Scorpio machine, and it shoots these darts out, these stingers. So this would be them stinging the Jews with a stinger for 5 months long. So here it is with the long spear in it. So this would be like a scorpion sting. It would sting the Jews for 5 months long. Here it is again. Looks like a scorpion sting, right? So this is part 10 of the Flavius Josephus and Revelation similarities. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.